Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's problem statement is permutation in string. So what we have to do here is, we are given with two strings s1 and s2, and we have to find a permutation of s1 in string s2, which means a subset of s2 such as this will contain all the characters in s1. The order can be different, right? So in order to solve this problem, we have two approaches. So we will discuss it here. So consider this example. We have a string s1 which is ab, and we have a string s2 which is this, right? So what we have to do is, we can solve this problem using a sliding window problem. So what we can do is, we can create a window of length which is equal to s1 in s2. So the length of s1 is 2, so we can create a window of 2 here and count the number of characters in this window and match it with the characters in s1. So in order to count the number of characters, we can maintain a array of integers which is of size 26, and it will contain this frequency is for string 1. So it will contain the frequency of each element in s1. A appears one time in s1 and b appears one time in s1, and rest of the characters will be 0, right? So accordingly, we have another frequency which will contain the count of characters in in the current window, not for whole array but in the current window, whatever its size is. So currently the size will be of 2, and the character in that window initially are e and I. So uh, we will update its index in frequency 2. So now we have frequency 1 and frequency 2. So first approach is that we can, while updating each window, we can suppose our initial window is this, and we want to move window up by one index, right? We are moving from ei to id. So in that case, we can update the character at that particular index. We have to minus e from this index and update the d, uh, in this index only. So after updating the frequency for second window, we can loop through frequency 1 and frequency 2 and find both if the count of frequency for both the arrays are same. So in this case, if the count is same, return true. If it is not true, then we can update the window again and again until we found a match. If we don't found the match, we will return false at the end. Again, the second approach consists of these arrays, and now instead of looping through both arrays after updating the window, we can maintain a variable here, variable match, which will contain the number of matches we have found for frequency 1 and frequency 2. So if both the frequency match, the count will be 26, right? Because the array is of size 26. So if it is 1, this is 1, and rest of the elements are 0, so the match for both the arrays will be 26 because all the elements are matching. And if any of the character is not matching, so in this case we will subtract it from this. So our match count is 25 here because these two elements are not matching. So in this case, for the first window, our matches are as follows. this is 1, or somewhere around this is 1. So our first two elements are not matching, so we will subtract 2 from here, and then we have two another mismatches here, right? We will match again 2 from here, and so our initial matches are 24, sorry, 22 here, right? So again, if we update our window from ei to id, matches ei equal to, so for window id, matches equal to, so our current match is 22, and if we move from ei to id, so we are decrementing it to 0, so it is decremented, right? So it is now matching with the frequency 1, so we will add 1 here, and now we have again found a character which is not matching in frequency 1, so we will minus 1 from here, so our match will remain 22. Now when we move from id to db, here we have found a match which exists in s1 also. So while moving id from id to db, matches will be, our current match is 22, and we are decrementing the I character in frequency 2, so we will decrement it to 0. Our d was 1 in that window, right? So if we have decremented I, and we have incremented b and d, right? So in that case, when we decrement I, we have decremented I from here, so it will again match our frequency 1, and again we have added an element b which also present in s1, right? So the frequency is matching, so we will again increment 1 here, it will be now 24. Our matches are 24 now. Now again we are moving from window db to ba, right? If we move window from db to ba, our matches will be, our current matches count is 24. Now we are decrementing a character which is not present in s1, so we will decrement it 0, so our current match is updated by 1, because they both become 0 and they are equal, so we will increment our matches. Now again we have added a character which is also present in s1, so we will add it here, and the match is same, so we will update it here, and the count will be 26. In that case the count will become 26, and we will simply return true from here, because total matches will be 22, sorry, 26 only. Let's put this into our code. Firstly keep we have to create a variable to save the length of s1 and s2, right? Int length2 equal to s2 dot length. Now we will create the variable to store the frequency for both the s1 and the window, which will be of size 26. Frequency 2 equal to new int is also of size 26. Now what we will loop, so initially what we will do is we have to check that if length 1 is greater than length 2. In that case we cannot found a permutation of s1 into s2, because s2 is smaller than s1, so we will simply return false from here. And now we will update the frequency for the initial window. Int I equals 0, it will loop through the length of s1, and we will update the frequency for both s1 dot caret I minus a. We are doing minus a to make the a a characters index 0, right? We will add the frequency for a for character I, and same we will update the frequency of a window, current initial window, for frequency 2. Now what we will do is create a variable matches, which will keep record of the current matches in the current window. So for the initial window we will update our match count. It will loop through all the characters in frequency 1 and frequency 2 and check if they are same or not. If they are same, we will update the matches count, right? So now what we will do is create a left and right index, so that we want index denotes the index which we want to remove from the window, and right index will be the index which we want to add to the window. So left initially will be 0, because we want to remove the 0th index from from the window, and the right index will be length 1, because up to length -1 we have already updated into a frequency 2. Now the loop will run until the length of s2, and we will increment length left and right pointers after every execution of the loop. So initially we will check that if the matches is already 26 or not. We will check it here. If the matches is 26, we will simply return true from here. That means we do not have to loop through the next elements. Now what we will do is we will find the character which we want to remove from window and which we want to add to the window. So the right character rc is equal to s2 dot char at caret right minus a, right? This is the index which we want to update in frequency 2, which is our window frequency. So we will update it here. Now what we will do is we will check if after updating the frequency 2, if we found a match in frequency, if the frequency 1 and frequency 2 are matching for that index. Frequency 2 are matching, we will simply increment our matches count. Also we have to check that if frequency 2 at index rc was previously matching with frequency 1, and now we have introduced a mismatch, we have to also take care of that. We have to check here is that if frequency 2 at index rc was previously equal, but now we have incremented it. If we have decrement it here and it is matching, we can say that it was previously matching and we have now incremented it. So we have to decrement matches here in that case. Now again for left index we want to decrement it in our frequency 2. We will name it lc and l. Now we have to decrement it in frequency 2, and now we will check if after decrementing, if we have found a match, we will simply increment our matches by 1, and again we have to check that if it was previously matching and now we have created a mismatch, so we have to take care of that also. Now what we will do is we have decremented it, right? So if we will check that if it was previously matching, that we have decremented it, and if we add 1 here and if it matches with the frequency 1, we can say that it was previously matching. Now we have after decrementing it is not matching, so we will simply decrement our matches count. So after all the updation, if again in the next loop, if the matches count is 26, we will simply return true. So after the execution of last index, this condition will not execute, right? So we will not be able to check that if the last window does actually matches with the S1. So this condition we will introduce in the last statement of our function. Will simply return the matches is double equal to 26. In that case, we are checking that if the matches is 26, we can say that it is the permutation of S1, and we have found the permutation of S1. And if the matches is not equal to 26, we can say that we have not found any permutation of S1 in S2. Now let's test it by running it against the sample test cases. We have to increment I here. Now let's test it again. Now it is working fine, right? Now let's submit it, like if it is accepted or not. As we can see, it is accepted. Thanks for watching.